My lords, today I bring you a report on a most strange situation. The integral science ship commanded by Dr. Murdoch has identified some odd signals emanating from a gas giant. These signals would turn out to be a sentient race of gaseous entities who appear to have a somewhat thriving civilization and culture. Never before have we identified a gaseous species, and I must wonder what this revelation may represent. I'll detail the Doctor's report for you now. Stardate 69844.2. We picked up curious readings from the gas giant designated ROX 42 in the Rho Apuchi star system. There were significant pockets of radiation in the gas giant's atmosphere that appeared to be the result of intense bombardment. However, what one could hope to gain by bombing a gas giant from orbit remains a mystery, for surely no one lives there. As we prepared to break orbit, my communications officer picked up a weak signal coming from within the planet's interior. It had all of the markings of a communication transmission, but the planet's intense radiation made it incredibly difficult to isolate. Nevertheless, we stayed in orbit of the planet for several hours while my team and I worked to isolate the signal, and it did indeed turn out to be a transmission. We filtered it through our translation software and put it upon the main viewer, and the message read, "Finally, well met, Spacefarer. We are the Dathnak, and the planet that you are orbiting is called Tolok Rong. It is our ancestral home. It is always riveting to meet a solid, even if our last encounter with your kind was somewhat problematic. You have no doubt detected the radiation surges coming from our atmosphere. Our home, Tolok Rong, is dying, and our species will perish with the planet unless we find a new home. We have identified a planet that would suit our physiology, but we lack the means to travel to it. Sadly, our non-corporeal nature means that we have very little in the way of industry or technology. Please, will you assist us?" A signal frequency was attached to the transmission, which allowed us to open up real-time communication with these creatures, and after a small internal discussion, we did. We had never met non-corporeal gas creatures before, and these were obviously intelligent. Thus, obviously, I wished to understand their nature further. We began with some standard questions, starting with how they were able to communicate with us if they had no technology. The Dathnak responded by explaining that we were not the first solid to pay them a visit. Apparently, another spacefaring civilization graciously donated a small subspace transmitter and a scanner array, approximately 2.9 million cycles ago. This technology had supposedly been specifically designed for Dathnak physiology, and it was, according to the Dathnak people, one of the more positive encounters that they'd had with solids. On the face of it, it must have been a determined empire who identified these people and went to the trouble of building a specific device in order to communicate with them. We queried what had happened to their planet, to which they explained that the last time the solids visited, several thousand cycles ago, the interactions did not go pleasantly. According to the Dathnak, this group of solids were heavily spiritualistic and required that the Dathnak people join in embrace with their glorious religion. The Dathnak refused, and thus promptly triggered a genocidal orbital bombardment from the spiritualistic empire. We are, of course, only hearing one side of the tale, but it seems rather unlikely that the Dathnak presented any sort of threat to this empire, and so the wanton bombardment from the spiritualistic fleet does seem quite unreasonable. It is the neutron bombs of this fleet that left behind such dangerous residual radiation, which creates the Dathnak predicament. Thus, the Dathnak have come to us with a proposition. They request that we transport the entirety of their civilization to another planet. According to them, they are very small in number, with most of them dying during the bombardment. Those who survived have retreated deeper into the planet's atmosphere, but the radiation is spreading and continues to kill them. Given our available options, we chose to help these people. The effort required for us to do so was rather minor, and we may establish a good relationship with these gas people. It was also assumed that we would never need to fight over the same territory, given that they live on gas giants. This fact was confirmed when we received the coordinates for their new planet, with a note requesting that we do not colonize it first. It was, of course, a massive gas giant that, beyond research, we had no interest in. Despite the general friendliness of these people, however, I did consider the fact that this may be one big scam. Those void dwellers at the centre of the galaxy come to mind. But despite my misgivings, we will help them. We acquired some pressurised gas tanks, normally used for the collection and transportation of exotic gases. These would turn out to be perfect for the task, and we bolted them to the undercarriage of a convoy of civilian freighters, and began to embark the Dathnak people. It did not take long to complete the relocation of the Dathnak to their new home. We also brought along their ancient transmitter and scanner array, in case they needed to contact us in the future. We hailed them to check in, and they had the following to say. "We are forever in your debt. This planet has exceeded our expectations, and for the first time in generations, our young can frolic in the upper atmosphere without starting to glow. We have decided to call our new home Baldarak after your species, and future generation of Dathnak will always know the name of their saviours." To which we queried the planet's name, reminding them that we were human, not Baldaraks, whatever they are. Somewhat rudely, they apparently confused us with other solids, stating that it's difficult to tell us apart, and it's now too late to change the planet's name anyway. The audacity of these creatures raises an eyebrow. Nevertheless, we wished them good luck with their new home, and they did somewhat redeem themselves with a gift. The Dathnak people gave us a collection of peculiar gases. Mass spectrometry revealed that the container that they gave us had within it a perfectly equal number of atoms of a variety of noble gases and elements, and we're fairly confident that no Dathnak is actually inside of the container. And this was the status quo for several years. We left them in peace, and they left us alone, content, we assumed, on their new gas giant. However, as I write this log, I am again reminded of my initial concerns regarding some sort of scam, and the Dathnak people, ironically, have contacted us once more. This time they state, "Hello again. You will be pleased to learn that our species have quadrupled in number since we arrived. Many of us were swept up in a festive mood when we made planetfall, and things got a bit frisky to say the least. After the positive experience we had colonising Baldarak, a few brave pioneers have asked me to petition you for passage to another gas giant. We have already located a promising candidate within your space that would be suitable for colonisation. What say you, friends?" Once this message had been heard, a collective sigh rung out across my crew, but, despite our misgivings, we once again agreed to help the people of Dathnak out. We hoped that this would be for the last time, however. As before, a colony of freighters was assembled to safely transport the Dathnak people inside the pressurized tanks. After a brief journey, we successfully made planetfall on the new gas giant, which they subsequently named New Baldarak. We left them a communication satellite in case they needed to reach us in the future, although this may have turned out to be a mistake in hindsight. Barely 6 months had passed, and these gas creatures contacted us once more. My patience was wearing incredibly thin at this point. The Dathnak on New Baldarak had the following to say. "Greetings from New Baldarak. Things are progressing rather well here at our new colony. We do, however, have a small request. Chabki Rad, one of our colonists, misses her family and friends back on Baldarak terribly, and she wants to go home. Her whining is driving us crazy. If it's not too much to ask, do you think you could take her back?" Given that the two planets were not greatly out of our way, we agreed, though at this point it was beginning to come clear that we were being taken advantage of. This relationship better start paying us dividends soon. The Dathnak, however, were, as before, pleased, stating, "Excellent. Hopefully this won't put too much of a strain on your resources, since you'll only be transporting a single individual. We will make the necessary arrangements at our end." And I just broke the news to her, and she is spinning with joy. In fact, she's spinning out of control. Now you have to excuse me, human friends. I found it amusing that this little gas creature doesn't think they're putting too much of a strain on our resources. It's almost as if they're doing us a favour. In any case, as before, a cargo tug hauling a gas canister arrived at New Baldarak and transported her to Baldarak, and then deposited her in the gas giant's atmosphere. We hope and wonder if this will be the last time these irritating gas people contact us. But obviously, it was not. We really should not have given them the means to contact us. This time, however, they did come to us with potentially concerning news. The transmission stated, "We bring alarming news, human friends. Contact with our colony on New Baldarak has been lost. They are no longer responding to any of our satellite transmissions, and we fear the worst. Perhaps the aliens who bombarded our original homeworld have returned to finish the job. Please send a ship to investigate." Given the potential implications of an alien fleet in our territory, we investigated immediately. However, upon reaching the New Baldarak colony, it became apparent that nothing was out of the ordinary. The satellite the colony had used to communicate with us in the past was still functional. Thus, we hailed the planet, and the response we received raised yet another eyebrow. The transmission stated, "Greetings from the New Baldarak Revolutionary Front. We have thrown off the yoke of oppression and are at last free from the tyranny of Baldarak. We have no quarrel with you, human, as long as you refrain from aiding the imperialists in their inevitable attempt to crush the revolution. But you could help us take the fight to our enemies. Would you be willing to deliver one of our commando units to their planet?" We had absolutely no intention of getting involved with these gaseous people anymore, and were thoroughly fed up. But we did ask them what they had planned, to which they stated, "We want to infiltrate Baldarak with one of our elite commando units. This commando unit will then incite a popular uprising against the decadent elite that lords over our people. After the tyrants have been disposed of, all of Dathnak will know true freedom. A straightforward plan, if ever there was one. We told these revolutionaries in no uncertain circumstances that we would not get involved with their internal dispute, and it appears that they were quite irritated. Their final transmission to us stated, 'Of course not. We wouldn't want the revolution to spread to the oppressed masses in your tyrannical empire. We can't have that.' That statement certainly didn't ingratiate themselves with us in any way. It was, however, somewhat surprising when the original colony, Baldarak, contacted us with the following to say. It would appear that they had been in contact with the new Baldarak after all. "I speak on behalf of the lawful Dathnak government on Baldarak. We have received a manifesto from the group that seized control of our new colony, and boy, what a bunch of hogwash these brigands and anarchists are. They are a terrible embarrassment to us, human. Will you help us stamp out their little revolution before it spreads here and someone actually gets hurt? General Palantinkak has prepared an expeditionary force to retake the colony. But of course, we'll need your help transporting it there." If ever one needed an advertisement for not getting involved in someone else's problems, this was it. Imagine how peaceful life would have been if we simply left these gas people to die on their planet. One can almost understand why the spiritualists bombarded them in the first place. In any case, it was decided that we would help the original people on Baldarak. We didn't want some sort of civil war happening within our borders, so we decided to clean this mess up once and for all. Several freighters under escort dropped cargo canisters containing the Dathnak expeditionary force into New Baldarak's atmosphere. Moments later, flashes could be seen coming from beneath the gas giant's cloud layer. The fighting appears to have started, and now we must wait to see what happens next. We did not have to wait long, however. We soon received a transmission from the General, speaking from New Baldarak, and he stated, "Operation Gaseous Fury has been a complete success. All primary objectives have been seized, and our government control has been restored to all atmospheric sectors. Aside from a few holdouts, most troubled units have surrendered or been routed. Much obliged for the support, humans. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to transmit a casualty report back to the homeworld." Of course, this wasn't the last we heard from the Dathnak people. Several days later, we received another transmission, again from the General, but he was now calling himself Acting Military Governor of New Baldarak. He stated, "I'm pleased to announce the end of major combat operations in Sector 47G. At least 512 insurgents have been confirmed killed since the operation began 2 cycles ago, while our losses have been minimal. Extra commendations to all forces involved for keeping civilian casualties at an acceptable level. 7 days later, we received yet another transmission. This really was starting to get ridiculous. This time, however, it was not the General, it was a Colonel Rapzak. He was also titled as the acting governor of New Baldarak, and he stated, "I must regretfully inform the galactic community at the demise of my predecessor. After being lured into a dastardly ambush by rebel forces, the General gave his life in the finest traditions of the service. A state funeral with full honours will be held at the successful conclusion of our current offensive." And I'm pleased to say that this is the last we heard of the Dathnaks for a while. But we have heard from them twice more to date. Both, however, were finally to our benefit, which frankly, after all this time of dealing with them, I think we deserved. The first of the two communications was regarding a scientific academy, and the transmission stated, "Humans, I've been asked to approach you on behalf of our people. Although we don't possess much in the way of technology, we are certainly capable of higher reasoning. A few of our think tanks have spent the last several years studying theoretical physics and would like to share their findings with you. Perhaps the data will be some use to you in the empire building activities that you solids are so fond of." This data, in fact, did turn out to be quite handy and increased our understanding of physics somewhat. The second communication, however, had them yet asking for another favour. This one was at least to our benefit. The communication stated, "Hello humans, would you be willing to do us a favour? Our planet's strong gravity well pulls all kinds of trash into the atmosphere, and at a recent council meeting we decided to step up our cleaning efforts. One of our reclamation units came across a discarded cargo pod, and we were wondering if you'd be willing to help us dispose of it. It seems to contain large quantities of worthless metals." These worthless metals turned out to be a not insignificant quantity of refined minerals. Finally, this relationship was starting to pay off. And that, my lords, is, I'm somewhat thankful to say, the last communication that we've had with the Dathnak people. We do wonder whether or not we should have helped them at all. But I'll allow you to make your own decisions on that. Do feel free to let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching, folks. If you want to learn about the Cathaloids, please click the video on screen now.